dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky. This is WYNT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, we have received a handful of messages from a few people fearful that a relatively new bridge along US 119 in Letcher County was cracking. Officials tell us, though, there is no need for alarm. WYNT's Connor James is near the Letcher-Harlan County line with more.
It's this portion of 119 that has people a little worried. You can see the cracks all the way down along the bridge here, but officials tell me it's nothing to be worried about. It's actually cold temperatures that caused this cracking. The cracking is not on the actual structure of the US 119 bridge. The cracking is occurring on the expansion joint seal that stretches the length of the bridge. It's about 6 inches and is what connects the two slabs of bridge together. Officials say this is not from wear, but instead a dramatic temperature change over the year.
It's not unheard of for an expansion joint seal to come loose, especially when a structure is subjected to extremes of heat and cold over the course of time.
Officials tell me it should still be safe to drive on. If anything, they're going to do work up here to make sure this is patched back up. I'm in Letcher County. Connor James, WYNT Mountain News.
Officials also tell us that this gap should not cause any damage to cars crossing the bridge.
Well, some of us woke up with a little bit of some snowy weather earlier this morning. Good news is we're actually starting to warm up across eastern Kentucky, but most of that snow was along I-64 in Moorhead. You could see that here on Interstate 64, where they still are seeing that snow on a little bit on the grass. Now, if we look at the WYNT studios, you can also see that we're just seeing mostly cloudy skies really throughout the day, and we're going to continue to see that into the overnight hours as well. Start to see more of those partly cloudy skies. Satellite and radar shows most of us getting in on a little bit of that mix turning into rain, and you can see most of the snow really stayed up along I-64, and hopefully we'll see those clouds breaking throughout the overnight hours. But as we look at pinpoint Doppler, we are looking at a clean sweep for eastern Kentucky, and check out these temperatures. We're getting into the lower 40s, some spots down into the 50s into the Cumberland valleys, but it's kind of sad to think the lower 40s are actually feeling pretty good outside compared to what we were dealing with this past week. Now, as we head into your weekend, good news is it's going to be absolutely beautiful. Temperatures start to warm up, and then we're going to see a pretty warm work week as well before daily rain chances return as we head into your Monday and Tuesday. We'll break down that full forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Steve.
Paige, thank you. Now to a developing story here in Hazard. This afternoon, the city declared a water supply emergency. All Hazard Utilities customers are asked to conserve. This is video from this afternoon near Memorial Gym, where crews were working on one issue. Officials say car washes using Hazard water and laundry service facilities are closed. If you need to report a water leak, you should call 606-438-4200. Again, that's 438-4200. We hope to have much more on this tonight at 5:30 and 6. A loud noise startled a lot of people in a central Kentucky community early today. The blast happened this morning, and many people wondered just what was going on. WYNT's Phil Pendleton shows us what caused a number of little explosions in the town of Junction City and why some were thinking they might be placed on high alert.
Around 2 o'clock this morning, a lot of people in Boyle County woke up to a noise. They heard a loud thud, a boom. Actually, it was a number of booms. They had no idea what it was, and at least one person heard this sound all the way in Danville, which is several miles away.
Sunday, mostly sunny.
Charlie Perry wakes up a lot of people in Boyle County on his radio show, but this morning he was the one woken up by a loud boom or thud.
And just a few minutes later, I heard it again.
A number of thuds or booms that many others also heard all over Boyle County. Perry immediately thought about other events he's covered over the years. He's been in radio, like a train boxcar explosion or a weather emergency. As it turns out, the little explosions he heard were from oxygen and propane tanks exploding during a camper trailer fire behind this home in Junction City. But that's about 3 to 4 miles from his house in South Danville.
You know, it kind of made me nervous, and I was hoping that no one was injured. And I don't know if they were or not, but I was hoping that it wasn't a real disaster coming up. or that it was in my neighborhood, that someone that I could be in danger, my wife and I could be.
There were a number of people living in the house right in front of that camper trailer. They were not hurt. In fact, that house was not even damaged. In Boyle County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
The Junction City Fire Department responded and put out the fire. The camper was a loss. There is no word on what caused the fire. Tomorrow marks the end of a 60-day notice the U.S. gave Russia to come into compliance with a Cold War-era nuclear arms treaty. Today, the Trump administration announced that has not happened, and the U.S. will withdraw from the treaty. That is expected to become effective in October. The U.S. and Russia signed the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty in 1987, banning nuclear weapons capable of destroying Europe within minutes. The U.S. claims Russia has been building and testing intermediate-range missiles in violation of the treaty since 2014.
Russia has jeopardized the United States' security interest, and we can no longer be restricted by the treaty while Russia shamelessly violates it.
Russia denies the claims and says the U.S. has been looking for a reason to withdraw from the treaty. NATO says it fully supports America's plan to withdraw. Walgreens is under fire after it was revealed an employee who handed out nearly 1 million prescriptions was not an actual pharmacist. The California Board of Pharmacy says Kim Thien Lee handled more than 745,000 prescriptions for a decade at 3 stores in the San Jose area. But the board says Lee never graduated from college and is not a licensed pharmacist. Instead, the board says she used the numbers of 2 other pharmacists with similar names. In a statement, Walgreens says it has since verified the numbers of all of its pharmacists nationwide. Still, customers are concerned.
Walgreens should have done a better job in screening.
It makes me suspect of how we're checking pharmacists' backgrounds.
Walgreens says Lee stopped working for the company in 2017 but declined to comment when asked how she was able to work for so long. It is unclear if she will face any criminal charges, but the California Board of Pharmacy says it is looking into the possibility of revoking the pharmacy licenses of the 3 Walgreens where she worked. The 2020 presidential election is still more than a year away, but the race to the White House is already heating up with another Democrat throwing his hat into the ring. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker announced his campaign for president this morning, the first day of Black History Month. The 49-year-old senator has long been seen as a potential Democratic presidential candidate.
The cancer in many ways in our country right now is a caustic type of politics that wants to pit us against each other and create the delusion of separateness. We need leaders that are going to put that indivisible back in this one nation under God.
Booker joins a historically diverse and already crowded field of Democrats, including California Senator Kamala Harris, who launched her campaign last week. This brings the total number of official candidates to 5. 3 others have formed exploratory committees, and more names could potentially be added to the list of 2020 presidential candidates, including former Vice President Joe Biden, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, and former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz. Heading over to Wall Street now on this Friday afternoon, the Dow closes up today more than 64 points. The partial government shutdown is being blamed for some mixed numbers regarding the U.S. economy. The U.S. Labor Department says the economy added more than 300,000 jobs in January. That is the 100th straight month of job gains in the U.S. And analysts are calling last month's rise surprisingly strong. But the U.S. unemployment rate ticked up slightly last month to 4%. Officials say the partial government shutdown contributed to the unemployment uptick, but said there were, quote, no discernible impacts on hiring and wages. Straight ahead on First at 4, it's an exciting night for high school basketball as several rivalry games are on the schedule. We'll have a preview just ahead.
And this weekend is looking nice, but what about the new work week? We'll break down that full forecast coming up in just a few minutes.